Hi, it's Sally Ford here from Dr. Hernandez, coming to you from the beautiful Royal Park wetlands, which I'm pleased to say is in my 5K radius. I'm here to encourage you to donate tonight for the Climate for Change Online-A-Thon. And please donate, because together we can empower 5,000 people to take action against climate change. And what can I say? That C4C are doing a marvellous job, and we're really pleased to be supportive of their efforts. So you are also going to play a clip that Dr. Hernandez made last year when we were in lockdown. It's about Corona, and it says, "I Corona, stay away, please get away." But I just want to encourage you again to donate to the C4C Online-A-Thon Climate for Change. Please donate and go well.
En vez del gran silencio, quisiera escuchar la cumbia. En vez del gran silencio, quisiera escuchar la cumbia. Felicidad me da felicidad. Felicidad me da felicidad. Dancing a distancia, yo quiero bailar la cumbia. Dancing a distancia, yo quiero bailar la cumbia. Felicidad me da felicidad. Felicidad me da felicidad. Señoras y señores, hay que quedarnos en casa. Y si tienes que salir, póngase una mascarilla. Tenemos que respetar el toque de queda y luchamos juntos contra la corona. Ay, corona, quítate de aquí. Ay, corona, quédate allí. Linda cumbia, salvadora pa' mí. Linda cumbia, que da vida a mí. ¡Upa! Goza, goza, goza. Doctor Hernández dice, quédate en casa. La cumbia es la cura. Pónganse una mascarilla. Quédate en casa.
Ay, Corona indeed. Thank you so much to Melbourne's own Dr. Hernandez. Those funky folks have been supporting Climate for Change and playing at their crowdfunder launches. Let's try speaking, Judith. Since 2017, and who knows, one day we might actually get to be in a room with them. Won't that be exciting? We'll be hearing from them again later on tonight. And now, welcome everyone to Climate for Change's Online-A-Thon. I'm your host, Judith Lucy. We are in for a fantastic evening. But first, I would like to acknowledge that we are coming together tonight from many lands that were stolen from Aboriginal peoples across this country. We in particular acknowledge the people of the Kulin Nation and the Eora Nation, where most of our speakers are calling in from. Sovereignty has never been ceded, and colonisation has brought ongoing pain and injustice that continue to this day. We acknowledge the enduring connection Aboriginal people have with the land, and we recognise that Aboriginal people across Australia are already some of the most affected by the impacts of climate change and some of the bravest working to stop it. We pay our respects to elders past and present and to any Aboriginal people watching tonight. We stand in solidarity and commit always to strive towards being better allies, working with you towards First Nations justice. We recognise that without this, any talk of climate justice is hollow. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I've tuned in. What can I expect from this evening? Well, what can't you expect? Of course, we're going to be raising heaps of money for an incredibly important cause. Tonight is also just a real celebration of the Climate for Change community. So we'll be meeting lots of wonderful volunteers. They'll be doing some crazy challenges. That was my favorite bit last year. We'll be hearing some fantastic interviews from best-selling author Sarah Wilson, from incredible researcher and author Rebecca Huntley. We'll be hearing from climate science researcher Dr. Simon Bradshaw and from psychologist Carol Ride. Of course, we will be raising a shitload of money, and I will be annoying the crap out of you because I will be getting you to donate, donate, donate. Just on that, I would like to say that if you're anything like me, if you're in Sydney, and particularly if you're in Melbourne, you might just be thinking, I'm hanging on by a thread. I'm exhausted. I've got nothing more to give. And of course, we acknowledge that COVID has really impacted people financially. So we only want you to donate what you can. But do remember that every dollar helps. But I just want to urge everyone watching, just grab a beverage, pull up a pew, be part of this incredible community for the next couple of hours, and let's just forget about riots and earthquakes and rising COVID cases and never-ending lockdowns and people urinating on the Shrine of Remembrance. Let's forget all of that and let's just be part of something that's really uplifting, fun, wonderful, and so, so important. My God, we all know the toll that these lockdowns have been having on those of us in Sydney and Melbourne in particular. I remember when we were in the very long lockdown last year, because this one's been so short. Some of you might remember that you could see an intimate partner, but you couldn't see a single friend. Now, I'm single and live alone. I know, it's a mystery. And a friend of mine who's in a similar situation rang me up one day and she just said, Jude, I just want to come over for a cup of tea. And I said, well, that's all very well and good, but to keep this legal, you're going to have to sit on my face. And apart from anything else, that would have made drinking my Earl Grey tea very tricky. Apologies to any parents who are now going to have to explain that joke to their children. Now, I'm sure most of you know this already, but for those of you who don't, Climate for Change is just an incredible grassroots organization who are about changing climate policy in this country, living room by living room, conversation by conversation, so that our political leaders realize that they have to do everything they can to stop and ultimately reverse global warming. Tonight is, of course, the beginning of their 5 weeks of fundraising. They're hoping to make over $300,000, and that will enable them to reach thousands of people over this great brown land so they can have the conversations which ultimately can lead to a change in climate policy. It couldn't be more important. We know that we've got a federal election just around the corner, and we also know that when it comes to global warming, we've really just got a tiny window to turn this thing around. So yes, get involved, as I say. It's so significant, and at the moment, it's just the most important thing you could be getting involved in. Tonight, our goal is to raise over $30,000, although I suspect that may have already happened, which is incredible. If and when that happens, some really amazing sponsors will automatically kick in another $7,000. So that's just fantastic. But how about I shut up and bring on some people who can tell us much more about Climate for Change and also tell us more about how tonight's going to work, I would love to introduce Climate for Change's two co-CEOs, Jane Stabb and Lena Herrera-Pekowski. Lena and Jane, hello.
Hello, Judith.
How are you, ladies? Now, Climate for Change, what is it?
Climate for Change is an organization that facilitates, first of all, amazing. We already raised nearly $40,000. So
oh my God, good night. And that's the end of the evening. We can all go home.
No, we're now going to aim $70,000 because that's 40 plus 30.
Okay. You've heard it here first. 70,000 is the new goal. That is just fantastic. And how much does that say about the people who are associated with C4C, that at this time where half the country's in lockdown, people are still able to dig that deep? That is just incredible. But yes, please tell us a bit more about the organization.
So Climate for Change is an incredible organization of incredible people, as we can see tonight. We started about 6 years ago. It was a really simple idea. Our founder, Katarina Geider, who led the organization till April this year, she was just like very concerned. She realized that while people in Australia want climate action, our politics here is stuck. Nothing is happening. And she was asking herself, how can we unstuck it? And she came up with this simple idea of like bringing people together at their home and give space to have conversations, ask the questions we have, connect on our fear, but connect mostly on our hope, and create community. And through that community, create power and influence politicians. So that's what we've been doing at Climate for Change for the last 6 years. We facilitate transformative conversations at people's homes, lately mostly online, but hopefully at some point we're going to be able to do it in person again, in flesh. So we bring people together, and in those conversations, people transform mostly from that moment of fear into hope, community, and action. So, for example, before Sydney went into lockdown, we had this beautiful conversation in North Sydney where Graham invited his neighbors and friends. Lots of people had never talked to each other. And they realized they all shared the same fear around climate change, but had never talked about it. The feeling of like when the smoke came in to Sydney, the question of what that meant to their lungs and to their children. And then they created community. They now were talking, well, I don't know if it happened, but they were talking about putting solar panels onto their roof. They've organized a compost system. And most importantly, they're going to their local MP, who's in North Sydney is a Liberal MP, Trent Zimmerman, and asking him to deliver on climate action. And that's what we need, and that's what we do. We activate people, we connect them, and then we build pressure onto our politicians and inspire them to act. And what...
Well, that is just absolutely fantastic. And I've been a part of some Climate for Change conversations, and it is amazing. And it is amazing because you're right, Lena, so many people, even though they're riddled with grief and fear, we're not talking about it. So it's incredible what we can do when we just bring people together and we can finally have those conversations. They are just so important. Jane, do you want to add anything to that, or do you want to tell us a bit more about how tonight's going to work? Because we've got coffee catch-ups, we've got raffles and thank you gifts. How do people get involved? How do people donate?
Thank you so much, Judith, firstly, for being the MC tonight. And also thanks so much for coming along, everyone.
Oh, such a pleasure.
I am going to talk a little bit about our plans and how tonight's going to work. But firstly, before we start, I might just take a couple of minutes to introduce myself and share a little bit about why I care so much about climate action. I grew up in a little town called Macedon, which is an hour north of Melbourne, a beautiful little spot right at the juncture point between Wurundjeri Wurrung, Dja Dja Wurrung and Taungurung country, right on the southern tip of the... This terrified me. I grew up having nightmares about saying goodbye to my dad. And this fear came back to me in the bushfire season of 2019-2020 Black Summer. I remember watching the fires roar up the north coast of New South Wales towards a little town called Nambucca Heads, where my sister lives with her 2-year-old. And I remember looking at my phone and watching as the RFS would update local government local government area advice for her town. And I remember watching the advice change from enact your fire plan to leave now to finally It's too late to leave. Seek shelter. And I remember thinking, nowhere's safe anymore. No one is safe from this. After that fire season, the government held a royal commission to discover what was different about that fire season. And the Bureau of Meteorology gave them advice that actually the conditions leading into that are no longer an anomaly, that this is what our fire seasons are going to look like from now on. We saw the IPCC report come out a month or so ago. This is the most up-to-date global science on climate change. And what that report showed us was devastating. It showed us that our summers are going to get hotter, that our droughts and bushfire seasons are going to get longer and more damaging. And it showed us that the oceans are acidifying down to 2 kilometres, which is just devastating for our Great Barrier Reef. We've got a narrow pathway to avoiding climate catastrophe if we act now. Meanwhile, what are our politicians doing? They're bickering about whether or not they're going to do something by 2050. And this really matters. Australia's a leader on the world stage, so we reckon. And we're blocking the global politics of climate action. We're the world's biggest exporter of coal. We're among the world's highest per capita emitters. And yet we have the solutions to shift our economy to being powered by the wind and the sun. So what we do here in Australia really matters. We need bipartisan support for climate action. We need all major parties to commit to cutting pollution drastically right away. And we're a long way from this. We know that a majority of voters in every single federal electorate around the country want more support for climate action, but you wouldn't know it from the way our politicians are acting. Leading into the election, we've got a plan to connect with and activate 5,000 people in key strategic communities that we know can drive political change. We're focusing on 2 target electorates in Ryan, just west of Brizzy, and North Sydney in New South Wales. The reason we chose these electorates is basically that, like Lena said, politics on climate change in Australia has been stuck for the better part of a decade. And in the past, you might remember the Liberal Party has actually been responsible for some really progressive environmental protections. But over the last decade, they have been acting as a real blocker on climate policy. So to get bipartisan support for climate action, we really need to build support in communities that matter to them. So we're rolling out our Climate Conversations program in these 2 target electorates, building support for climate action in these communities and supporting people to get active too, to go out and meet their MP, to write to the local paper, but importantly, to start talking to their family and friends about this. So leading into a federal election, we know this can really drive political change. Over the last 6 years, we've reached 10,000 people through our Climate Conversations. And your donations tonight will help us reach another 5,000 people this year alone, leading into the crucial federal election. So I will pass over to Lena, who can update us a bit more on how the night's going to work.
Well, can I just say, Jane, that you're just making an incredibly strong case there. And I mean, if you can afford to donate to Climate for Change and you choose not to, well, I guess you're just a bit of an asshole. Now, Lena, how is tonight going to work? I mean, people can actually donate to my page and have a cup of coffee with me. Now, who's not going to do that?
Well, a lot of people want to do that, obviously, including most of my family members who already donated to your page.
I love them.
Yeah, me too. Lee, could you share the screen so we can all see it? So you go to our website, our crowdfunding page, which will also come up in your chat functions. Challenge for climate.racely.com. And then if you want to give to Judas, you can put in Judas and support a friend. So you just type it in. It's going to assume that's happening because my internet is really bad and I can't actually see what's happening. Yep, so you click into that little box, you type Judith comes up. Oh, you might have to do Judith Lucy. Yep, and Judith has already raised $1,700.
Oh my God.
And then if you give $50 or more tonight, you go into a draw to win a coffee Zoom catch-up with Judith. So if you give $100, that will be 2 tickets into the draw. And then if you want to support your friend for whom you might join tonight, you can just put their name into the comments. So if we go scroll a bit down to the comments, we can see one of my family members saying that they want to also get an art print, which is what I'm giving away. So they put my name in as well. So put in the friend's name, give to Judith, you can also give to our other guest speakers.
Yeah, we don't really need to get we don't need to get into that, Lena.
No, we don't even know about that.
I think there are some other people. No, of course. Lots of our guests tonight. You can also have a coffee catch up with Simon, with Rebecca Huntley, with Dr. Simon Bradshaw, and with, who have I forgotten? Sarah Wilson, Rebecca Huntley. I think that's everyone.
Sarah Wilson.
So that's tremendously exciting. But what happens if, I was just hopefully about to give you the segue to this, Lena. What happens if you donate $100 before 8 o'clock tonight?
Well, then, if you, let's say you donate to Judith's page, you get 2 draws to go into Judith's coffee catch up. But additionally, if you give $100 before 8 p.m. tonight, you go into the draw to win one of our amazing sponsor prizes, which I will list. So we all want a new outfit while we're in spring, potentially, from an ethical company, of course.
Absolutely.
So you can win a voucher with Cloak for the value of $300, a voucher from Alpha 60, one of my favorite brands, at $250. They always fit, they're always right. And then you can also win a voucher in the worth of $150 from Flora and Fauna to buy all the things you need for your organic, bio-friendly home, or a yummy food hamper in the value of $149 from our sponsor, Everybody Loves Hampers. So $100 would give you 1 ticket into the raffle, donate before 8 p.m. And if you give it to Judith or one of our other celebrities, then you could even win a coffee catch-up additionally.
So hang on a minute, Lena. Let me just be very clear about this. Not only are you donating money to an incredible cause, but you could also go in the running for a coffee catch-up with me, Sarah Wilson, Rebecca Huntley, Dr. Simon Bradshaw, or Simon Toohey. And if you do that before 8 o'clock tonight, you will also be in the running, if you donate $100 or more, for this wonderful raffle where you can win great clothing, vouchers, everything for your eco-friendly home, and a yummy organic hamper. It's too good to believe, Lena. If people don't donate, they're out of their minds. And now what else is happening? If we reach, well, we've already reached $30,000. What's the board going to do then? What's the Climate for Change board going to do?
Well, the Climate for Change board is going to do a challenge on stream, putting on as many clothes as they can in 1 minute.
And I've heard a little rumor that you two might be doing a little challenge at the end of the night too. What's the story with those challenges?
Well, I think if we reach the 70,000, which I think we can reach tonight, I will eat this lemon.
And I will smoosh this cream cake into my face.
Now, Lena, I don't want to say that we don't want to see you eat the lemon, because of course we do. But as a comedian, I can't stress enough that we all want to see Jane wind up with a cake in the face. So let's do everything we can to reach that $70,000 so Jane winds up looking like an idiot. And can I ask too, ladies, is it possible to still sign up to be a fundraiser?
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
We would love for you to join our community. You can still join our Challenge for Climate, join the campaign as a fundraiser, and help us empower thousands of people across Australia to take action on climate change. Please sign up. You can sign up on the Challenge for Climate website. Our team is posting a link in the comments. It's an incredibly rewarding experience, so you can help create a safer climate future and challenge yourself at the same time. You can choose one of 3 different challenges. Fitness challenge, which can be anything from walking, running, cycling, doing push-ups, dancing. I'm considering doing Couch to 5K, which I definitely need during lockdown. The second option is a silent challenge. So that could involve you going on mute for a weekend or a day of work, or taking a social media break for a few days or weeks after you reach your fundraising goal. And the third is a creative challenge, which is pretty much anything you like. You can dye your hair, you can give up coffee, you can do a painting every day, or you can simply ask your friends for support.
Bloody fantastic. I think we've covered everything for now. So thank you so much, Lena and Jane. And we will be seeing loads of you ladies tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm also pretty damn excited that I now get to introduce a man. Oh yeah, you know him as a MasterChef finalist. He's also the founder of Sustainable Earth Network, and the man with whom, well, I don't know, there was some real magic last year. It wound up with him dressing up as a weasel. Let's see if we can relive that this evening. I want to introduce the wonderful Simon Toohey.
Hello!
Hello, Simon. Here we are.
We're
again.
here! I'm starting with the jumper we left off with last year, so we're getting Weasley already.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, for those people who didn't watch last year, Simon wound up dressing up as a weasel because he and I might have gotten a little bit competitive about the coffee catch-ups, which I'm sure we won't do again. But no. Simon, how are you? How has the last year been?
Oh gosh, what a time to be alive! Hey, I'm just living my dreams. All 250 days of lockdown dreams. It's been fine. What can you do? I don't know. Well, people have had it worse. People have had it better. It is. You know, it is what it is. I hate that saying, but I'm saying it anyway.
But tell us about something positive. Tell us about the Sustainable Earth Network.
Yeah, we've been doing great. So Sustainable Earth Network is about to launch their second season. So we've been gallivanting around whilst lockdown wasn't happening. We're in Tassie for a while, visiting some hemp farms, visiting some plant-based cheese producers, meeting some tofu people who get their soy from the west coast of Tasmania. We've been through some forages in Victoria. We've seen some amazing people and just celebrating the beauty that is the land that we live on. That we have found ourselves on top of, and people who are giving back to that land in a positive way, in positive change, with a positive smile. And so that to me has been such a wonderful year with Sustainable Earth Network. Now that'll be, the last couple of episodes have gone on hold as COVID has done. So we're looking at launching that early next year. But Freshly Picked, which is my new show, which is on Channel 10 on Monday at 3:30, classic 3:30 time slot.
And can I say, I love the way that you've just gone straight in there for the plug. I mean, I of course am slightly annoyed that I don't have my own television show, but Simon, I'm a woman over 50, so I may as well be dead. But do tell us about the television program.
See, you do it live, Judith. That's why I could never do what you do, because you're doing it on stage. You don't know where to hide. I just get someone to cut it and edit it and make me look good. But the TV. We're doing this live. We're doing this live, true. Simon, and you're doing an amazing job. So but tell us about the TV show. So it's on Channel 10. It's the first completely plant-based TV show in Australia, based and filmed in Australia, which is really good. Again, just looking outside the box of great food, not jamming down people's throats that it's vegan, but talking about the fact that it's just really good dishes, really good food, and super sustainable. And hopefully people get inspired to get back in the kitchen again. You know, my ratings are going through the roof because everyone's sitting home at 3:30. It's fantastic. And all those young...
because, Simon, it's obviously it's all about you. On that note, Simon, about people being inspired and getting into the kitchen, like last year, I believe you are going to be cooking something special for us tonight. What are you whipping up? And what do people need if they want to cook along with you?
Totally. So we're doing something pretty easy. We're doing a dal, but we're going to do a waste fridge dal. So basically anything that's in the crisper that you find that's going a little bit south. I've got some pretty old Dutch carrots here. I got some asparagus are in season and they're super cheap at the moment, but these are pretty wilted. I got some old onions. But what the really important thing about a dal is a couple of spices like garam masala or cumin seeds and turmeric, but lentils. You know, I've got different types of lentils. You can use French pure lentils. You can use these little orange ones. I've got some green and brown ones here. So you can use tinned as well. If you have tinned chickpeas would work really well in this dish. So if you're at home, you have some ingredients, grab yourself some beans or some legumes of some description, some veggies of some description, whatever's in the fridge, some ginger, some garlic. You don't even need those two, but onions and chili. And then come back to me after I've chopped all these up into little bits, and we'll go on to the next stage of how to cook this beautiful waste-free dal.
Utensils? Do people need anything special?
Look, a knife, preferably. I've got a pot here and a little cooker. I'll slide that over. Let's see if I don't break anything on the way. Hello. So a little pot to cook everything in. I got some oil, a little gassy gas. I'm sure people have hobs or stoves at home, so just use that. I'm just making it easier. But we won't cook anything really yet until we see you next time. So then we'll talk about that then.
Okay, brilliant. Simon, great to see you. And I would just like to issue the challenge now that I
Yeah.
want a lot more people donating to my page. I want a lot more people interested in having a coffee catch up with me instead of Weasley old Simon. We'll see you soon, Simon. And now it is time for our first fantastic interview. I would love to introduce an interview that Jane did with Dr. Simon Bradshaw. Simon is a climate scientist and researcher at the Climate Council. He'll talk about the impact climate change has already had on our lives and what we can do about it without making us all want to shoot ourselves in the head. Over to you, Jane and Simon.
Hello. So I am here today with Dr. Simon Bradshaw from the Climate Council. Thank you so much, Simon, for making time today and supporting the Climate for Change Online-A-Thon.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's great to be with you, joining you from beautiful Darug country. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks so much. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions for you today. First up, as a climate scientist, could you explain to us what the recent climate science, like the IPCC report, means to us, particularly here in Australia? How bad is it?
Well, there is still a very narrow path to avoiding a real catastrophe, but it is clear that we brought ourselves very close to the brink, and the actions that we take now and over the coming years are going to be very, very decisive. Now, I think in the amount of time that all of us have been following this issue, it's gone from being perhaps a future kind of threat to something that's very, very real, very immediate. And Australians, as much as anyone, have seen this. We've all lived through the Black Summer fires. We've seen the heartbreaking changes to our Great Barrier Reef, the damage to other critical ecosystems. We really are in a bit of a climate endgame, if you like. I think it's okay to sort of be reasonably dramatic about it because it is very grave, it's very serious. The decades, years of inaction or inadequate action by our governments have brought us to a point where really the science is showing if we don't get our house in order the coming years, if we don't see emissions plummet this decade, then we are setting ourselves up for a very difficult future. Now, of course, the flip side of this, the positive story, and particularly in Australia, is we're blessed with all these wonderful solutions. We've got everything we need to be seeing our emissions cut dramatically and in waves that actually improve all our lives. And that work of getting out and talking about these realities is just more important now than it's ever been.
Boy, that sounds terrifying. What does this mean for someone like my child Pip, who is 18 months old now? What changes can we expect to happen in her lifetime if we don't act?
One of the most hopeful, if you like, things I took from the recent Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, which is the most comprehensive update for at least 10 years, is that whereas obviously we're living through a period of intense climate disruption as it is, we see that playing out. Whereas because of past inaction, some of these trends are going to get worse. We are going to see more severe heat waves, more dangerous fire weather, more damage to our critical ecosystems. There's a certain amount baked in. If we act much harder now, we see benefits from that relatively quickly. We are really starting to change the future that our children are going to be living in. And that's why the current moment is so important, because if we take the strongest action we can now, we start to bend that temperature curve by about the time somebody born today is going into college. It only takes about 10 or 20 years before the actions we see now are actually measured in terms of less deadly heat waves than we'd otherwise see, less critical damage to our ecosystems, all these other impacts. So the truth is, the future we're heading into is challenging for young people alive today, for all of us. But the decisions we make today are going to make a profound impact on the lives and prospects of people born today, and not to mention their children and grandchildren. It's that difference between a barely survivable future to one in which all of us can still survive and flourish. And one of the real convenient truths is that all these things we have to do to deal with climate change, to move beyond fossil fuels, they can help build a society that is so much more equal and just, and that works for everybody, and that leaves no one behind. So I think it's really that balance, understanding the gravity of the situation, recognizing just what an extraordinary time we're living through as well, because we've got to reshape almost everything. And that is going to have a huge impact for better for our kids. And of course, in many cases, they're the ones leading this charge. But if we don't get our house together over this coming decade, then we're consigning them to a very difficult future indeed.
And getting our house in order, what does that look like? What do we need to do, and when do we need to do it?
For Australia, it really begins with moving beyond fossil fuels, both domestically, also in moving beyond the tremendous amount we ship overseas. And we're in an interesting situation as Australians, because obviously we've been a real giant of the fossil fuel industry in the past, continue to be. We're also sitting on this extraordinary resource, renewable energy. It's one of the sunniest and windiest countries on Earth. Also, we're sitting on a lot of the minerals that are needed to power the clean technologies of the future as well. So really no developed country has more to lose through inaction, because we've seen how vulnerable we are with the situation facing the reef, among other things. Really also no other country has more to gain by getting on with this transition. We're really lucky in that sense that we can transition beyond some of our traditional industries, unlock the opportunities through the fabulous sun, wind, technologies, expertise we're kind of sitting on. The only thing that's really been lacking is that absence of political leadership. And of course, we're all now involved in that project of building it from the ground up. And there's no easy way to do this. This critical work of conversations that Climate for Change does, slowly shifting the landscape, unlocking the opportunities for people. All that kind of builds up and will translate into that accelerating change. And it's really how we have to do it. So it begins particularly with transitioning the way we produce energy, but then we're poised to be, a giant of low carbon manufacturing if we want to. Again, drawing on that untapped renewable energy potential. There's so much that our farmers are doing to not necessarily reinvent, they've known this for a long time, but to be really savvy in how they work the land. Some of that building on age-old traditional knowledge so that we're locking carbon back up in the soil. Really, everywhere we look, there is challenges, but there's also opportunities by which we rein in our greenhouse gas emissions and we create new prosperity and opportunities for communities at the same time.
Talking about climate change, you can often paint a pretty grim picture, and the picture that you're painting also has an element of hope to it. What, as a climate scientist, but also as a dad and as a human being, what gives you hope?
I'm very privileged, I really am, to be able to work on this very subject every day, which is challenging, of course, but I think it's often says that hope leads to action. I think it's more that action leads to hope. That's what one of my favorite colleagues, Professor Will Steffen, is always, telling us. He's in his 70s and is just an unstoppable force of energy that inspires us all the time. And he, and I think a lot of us who, and all of you as well, who are out talking about this, it is confronting, but just that act of getting on with doing things, whether it's having conversations, whether it's weeding through the science and finding ways to communicate it, as we do at Climate Council, whatever it might be, just that being part of the solutions gets you onto a virtuous cycle where, of course, you have days where you read the latest reports and you're you're terrified, but then you get stuck in with your mates. You realize how much opportunity we're sitting on. You do what little bits you can to be part of the solution, and that's always going to bring hope. Beyond that, I think for any of us who are parents, of course, that focuses the minds. And, being a dad, there's nothing more precious than time you have with your little ones and rediscovering the world together. And I think it's a double-edged sword, of course, because you think about their future. I think that grounding you get and that sense of wonder that they bring, again, is a motivating force. And I'm lucky to be in the beautiful parts of Sydney, on Darug country, where I get a lot of nourishment just from the bush, the waterways, the bird life around here. And I think it's so important for all of us as we work on this challenge to find those things that give us that source, that nourishment, whether it's our kids, whether it's where we live, whatever it might be, because if we can find find that and tap into it, then you can keep going no matter what the how big the challenges of climate change start to look.
Thanks so much. That certainly left me with a feeling of hope, and I love looking at the bird life behind you in your picture. I saw a gorgeous flock of black yellowtail cockatoos flying over this morning, so that gives me hope as well. Thanks so much.
Oh, they're my favorites.
Oh, gorgeous.
Well, thank you, Jane, and thank you, Climate for Change, for speaking of bringing hope. That absolutely does, because it's that work of going out and talking and building the movement, driving the solutions. That's what's going to get us out of this climate mess and beyond the years of paralysing politics to where we're all being asked at our best selves and making sure Australia is part of the solution. So thank you for everything you do.
Amazing. And thanks so much to you and the whole team at Climate Council. We love your work.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon. My God, we certainly do need some political leadership, and action does lead to hope. And a great way to take some action, you guessed it, to donate to C4C tonight. Can we do a little bit of an update? Where are we at? $46,000, $46,405. That's pretty good. But now, remember, our new target is $70,000. If you want to see Jane get a cake in the face and see Lena eat a lemon, and I certainly want to see two of those things, both of those things. It's amazing, isn't it? How when you've been in lockdown for a while, you really just forget how to speak. Also, please don't forget, if you donate $100 before 8 p.m, you automatically go into that amazing raffle where you can get great vouchers from Cloak and Alpha 60 to just put a spring in your summer wardrobe. You can get everything for your eco-friendly home from Flora and Fauna, and a delicious organic hamper from Everybody Loves Hampers. And it's also not too late to sign up to become a fundraiser. And in the comments section here, I see Carly Babali. I hope that's how you pronounce it, Carly. Carly has just signed up for a creative challenge, and for every $500 that Carly raises, they're going to write a ukulele song for a lucky person. I don't know how lucky that person is, Carly, but thank you so much for getting involved. And now it's time to cross back to the wonderful Simon Toohey. And I would just like to kick this off before we see where Simon's at in terms of what we're whipping up. Let's just have a look at our coffee catch-up pages. Let's just see who's winning. So I have already raised $2,035. And how's Simon going? $50. Well, Simon's got a long way to go. How are you going, Simon?
I'm not very impressed anymore. I tell you what, I even got changed for the occasion. Imagine if you could. You would love to have a coffee with a gentleman like this, wouldn't you? Look at that, eh?
Can you just talk me through that? What's happening with that kerchief around your neck? You're looking a little bit Boy Scouty.
I was a bit. I was really trying to aim for this sort of up flight and flying sort of stewards kind of person, Hey, we're going to go on a trip together. Let's take you on a flight. And can I get you your coffee and your tea?
It's great. No. So it's kind of half flight attendant, half Boy Scout, and a little bit sort of camouflage fatigues. What I love is there's a lot going on and none of it's working.
It doesn't make any sense.
No sense whatsoever. And it's sort of early. So that's kind of one thing.
That's right. And I think I've got something. I'm going to put this out there to everyone who's watching. I think it's really important because if you're at $2,000 and I'm at $50, which is just, last year was definitely a lot better than this year. But if I win tonight, if I raise more money than you, Judith Lucy, tonight, from all those people donating, I have got full drag ready. All I've been able to watch this lockdown on TV is RuPaul's Drag Race. And I reckon that is something that people want to see.
You know what? Do we really need another straight man in a dress? I don't know that we do, Simon.
Yeah, but they never wear high heels. That's what I'm offering, though. That's the difference.
Yeah, I just don't know. You're giving me a bit of a footy show vibe.
Oh.
But the important thing is we just want people to donate. So whatever it takes. Now, Simon, where are we at?
Right. Okay, we are at, so we've got onions and we've got garlic and we've got ginger. And I'm just going to put my pan on, right? So I'm going to get my pan on hot. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to fry off my garlic, my onions, and my ginger and a bit of chili, okay? Until that gets nice and sauteed. And then all I'm going to do then is add in about, I reckon, a cup of dal or lentils. Of any lentils you have or chickpeas, a couple of tins of chickpeas is good as well. Butter beans, things like that. All that would work. And then add a cup or so into your pan and then let them cook away and then add about 2 liters of water. That's what we're going to do to start with. And not only that, we're going to go some cumin seeds and we're going to go a bit of turmeric. And I'm just going to add those in there as well. And I'm going to let that reduce down. And by the time you come back, we'll be ready for round 3, in fact.
Simon, just a quick question. Is there anything, in terms of most vegetables, and I do wonder where we all got the idea that we should throw most of the vegetable out. Is there any part of any vegetable that you really can't use?
Look, with a lot of cooking, you can pretty much use anything. But I wouldn't use sort of like the stems of an eggplant. That would be a bit weird and sharp and pretty bad. The leaves and stuff of a tomato plant are relatively poisonous and not really good for you. But things like the stalks of kale, they grow in these big long stalks. They are fantastic. They cook really, really well, but you have to give them time. Boil them down and cook them across under some sort of fire or something like that. So there's a lot of different levels that you have to go through. But I find sometimes that, we throw so much stuff out. For example, these beautiful green carrot tops, these are fantastic to make a little pesto with, or to make like a salsa verde with, or even to garnish the top of a dal with. You chop these up and then fold it through at the very, very end. And that's a really wonderful way to use up this whole vegetable. Especially when they're starting to go a bit south. It's still good, still tastes good, still smells good. You're certainly fine to use it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Simon. And you know what? I'm going to suggest this. I say, let's make the challenge to keep you out of a dress. I say, let people donate to keep you in pants. That's what I want.
There we go. No dress.
That's the challenge, everyone. We don't want to see Simon in drag. We want to see him hang on to a shred of dignity.
If I beat Judith Lucy, I won't be in drag. That's the rule.
There you go. There it is. Thank you so much, Simon. We'll come back to you shortly. And now, for those of you who were involved last year, you will remember that the fellow challenges were my favorite part, without question. And I would love to bring Lena back to talk us through what those challenges are, who the fantastic sponsor is, and how that's all going to work. Lena, how are you going?
Good. I'm not sure. I'm also a big RuPaul fan. I think I want to see the drag, but
but you know what I'm saying? Straight men in dresses. We've done a lot of it.
No. I totally, as a queer woman that does drags from time to time, I hear you.
I'm just saying, let's leave it to RuPaul. Let's maybe leave it to the LGBTQIA community. As a cis heterosexual woman, that's my feeling on it. But over to you, Lena. Tell us about the challenges.
So we have a few challenges tonight. We heard that the board is doing one. I'm doing one, but also our wonderful fellows are doing one. So we have a group of 45 fellows who are doing our Climate for Change Fellowship, which is 4 months long. And they are, as part of the fellowship, they organized this crowdfunder and the ambassadors of the crowdfunder. So a lot of you might be here because you're supporting them. Thank you. And thank you to them who are watching. 4 of them will do the first challenge, which is to put on as many clothes as they can in 1 minute. And then later on, we will have another challenge. You can vote for your favorite person if you are in Facebook. So if you are streaming or watching right now from YouTube, maybe get out your phone as well and go on Climate for Change Facebook page, because you can vote with emojis for your favorite fellow. And then the person who gets the most like emojis The first prize gets $250 towards their fundraising target. The second one gets $150 towards their fundraising target, and the next two get $50 each. All sponsored by our wonderful sponsor, Ethical Investment Services, who have been supporting us since pretty much the beginning of this crowdfunder, so like for 5 years. They're also going to top us up with an extra $2,000 because we already reached our target. So go them. Ethical Investment Services is one of Australia's longest standing financial planning firms, specializing in offering advice to clients who prefer to invest ethically. So if you want to make a difference with your money and make sure it's properly ethically invested, you should check them out. We're putting a link to them in the chat. Have a look now or later. And we will hear from Michelle from Ethical Investment after the challenge. She's actually singing for us.
Yes, which is fantastic. Thank you so much, Lena. So now we are going to meet our first bunch of volunteers. Oriel, Nieb, and Vita and Avi are all taking part in, as Lena told us, the challenge of putting on as many clothes as they can in a minute. Of course they are. Over to the challenges.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anvita, and here we are doing Joey's Friends Challenge. And I'm fundraising for Climate for Change for my daughter, for the future generation, because I think they deserve a better world. And that's why, and we need more climate conversations for that reason, so as we all can come together and work towards it. So over to Oriel.
Hi, my name's Oriel, and I'm really glad to be here. Thanks everyone for coming. I'm fundraising because I really believe in the power of conversations, and I think Climate for Change is doing a great job for that. And over to you.
Hi everyone, this is Naya. I'm fundraising for Climate for Change because I think the whole world is impacted by climate change and it's time that everyone should act. So I'm taking my action. Over to you, Adi.
So welcome to the Friends Joey Challenge, which involves wearing as many clothes as you can in a matter of 1 minute. Now, this is crucial. It's going to be timed, and Oriel is going to do that. So it's part of the Climate for Change 2021 Online-A-Thon. And I am Adi, and I'm volunteering with Climate for Change because of my concern with what's happening with the planet and how important the lives of other species is to me. So let's do this. I did all of my clothes, mate. The couch is empty. Woohoo!
Hi, I'm Michelle Brisbane from Ethical Investment Services. Tonight, I'll be bringing you a musical message about money. We're ethical investments. It's where you place your money. When you want to make sure it's doing nothing funny. It's ethical. It's critical to make the planet livable. To make the planet livable. We support Climate for Change. We like what they do. We all want to make sure your money's working for you. We call it ethical. Oh, it's critical to make the planet livable. We call it ethical, sustainable, investing in a better world. Do it for you. Ethical investments. .com.au. Ethical investments. Your money's working for you. Give us a call. We're at Q Junction. We make sure your money is working for the environment and for you. Have a great night.
You know, I think I speak for everyone when I say that not only do I want my money to be invested ethically, I want it to be done by someone who can sing and play the guitar. So thank you, Ethical Investments. Thank you to all the challengers. Do we know who won? The laughing emoji won. And I think someone is telling me that is Megan. And yet I don't actually see Megan's name in terms of who the challengers were. The important thing is that there is a winner and that person is getting $250 from Ethical Investments to go towards their fundraising. And we thank them very much. Actually, can we do a quick update before I introduce our next interview? I haven't told anyone that I'm going to do that, so we'll see if we can. Here we go. $49,000. You know, I've got to say that says to me that things are slowing down a little bit. Remember, we are now aiming to reach $70,000. We've only got about an hour and a half to go. And you've only got an hour to go if you want to donate $100 or more and automatically go into that wonderful raffle where you can win vouchers, wonderful clothing vouchers from Cloak and Alpha 60, everything you need for an eco-friendly home from Flora and Fauna, and of course a yummy hamper from Everybody Loves Hampers. It's not too late to start fundraising yourself. And don't forget the coffee catch-ups. Me, Simon Toohey, Simon Bradshaw, Rebecca Huntley, Sarah Wilson. Donate $50 to our pages. And if you still want to support a friend, in the comments, put their name. And don't forget, I am just crapping all over Simon Toohey at the moment, and I want to keep that happening. But apparently if Simon wins, he may or may not go with drag. We're getting some mixed comments. Some people want the drag, some people don't. I just want us both to raise an awful lot of money. And we are going really well, but you know what? I reckon we can probably do a little better. I would now like to introduce someone who is a really important part of the Climate for Change community, Mr. Mike McAvoy. He is C4C's National Program Manager. He leads the program to run climate conversations across Australia. And Mike's going to explain to us the power a simple conversation can have. Over to Jane and Mike.
I am here with Mike McAvoy, our National Program Manager. Thanks so much for joining us, Mike.
It's a pleasure, Jane. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell me about what motivated you to join Climate for Change?
Yes, I was in 2016 looking for something to spend my time and energy on to make a difference on this issue. I'd got to that point where I realized I'd spent a long time being very worried and concerned about climate change, but not quite knowing, just feeling frustrated that there wasn't any action that was going to make the systemic change we needed at the scale and pace we needed. We'd been through all sorts of wobbles with our federal government, and I was annoyed about it. And I kept talking to my friends about it, and actually I started reading more about climate change and realizing even more how important it is that we move on this. And so yeah, at that point I was looking for things. I found Climate for Change, and I signed up, and I decided I was going to become a volunteer facilitator with Climate for Change. I'd also seen. I also put my hand up to run for my local council elections, and to my surprise I got elected to council, which was a very lucky and exciting thing. But what happened was, while I was on council, I just kept thinking about Climate for Change, because the model that I had seen and heard with Climate for Change just seemed to be such a neat model for bringing about the big culture change that we need to shift the political system. Even in a fairly progressive part of town where there was broad support for action on climate change, I found at the local level that we would put forward policies or look to make change, and we would still meet resistance within the community. I just felt like the social climate really wasn't there yet for the kind of change that we need, and plus we need it everywhere, and I just thought Climate for Change had what was needed. So yeah, I'm so grateful that I've got an opportunity to work with Climate for Change now, and to invest my time and energy in this work, but also to be part of this incredible community of volunteers. It's awesome.
So good. Can you tell us about what makes climate conversations so powerful?
Well, so I could say from my personal experience, because I saw the model in action kind of early, and then as an elected councillor, I couldn't be involved as a facilitator of climate conversations because we're non-partisan as an organisation. But I could convince my family members to host conversations, and I did just that. And the thing that makes them so powerful is that they give people this opportunity to engage with their own network, people they know and trust around them already, and bring those people into this conversation in a safe environment, in someone's lounge room. Right now, that includes Zoom, obviously. But the powerful thing is it gives us the time and space to really think about the issue of climate change and what is our most effective action as an individual in this kind of big global problem. How can we be most effective in bringing about the change we need? Because it's happening in that kind of safe environment with people that trust each other, it actually has a real behaviour change element tied into it. People come out of the conversation feeling much more motivated, much more empowered to know what kind of action they can take, and then they actually take that action. And I saw that with my own family members. When the volunteer facilitator that Climate for Change sent to do those conversations with them and their networks, I saw how those people changed. Like, it's incredible. You know, like my mum changed political parties and started out handing out how to vote cards for the other party at the next election. My brother, you know, after a couple of months, ended up putting solar panels on his roof. And one of my mum's friends signed up as a facilitator with Climate for Change and started getting active as a volunteer with Climate for Change. All of these little stories of change that come out of the conversations is incredible. And for me, as an activist or as someone who's already strongly committed to it, it also gave me that great sense that I'm actually part of a broader community and that I'm helping bring more people on board with this. So yeah, that's what I would say is, from personal experience, the power of the conversations.
How does the conversation model work?
Essentially, we start with someone who hosts a conversation. They invite, 8 or 9 of their friends to come and have a meal with them at their house. And at Climate for Change, our job is to train and support volunteer facilitators to lead those conversations. So one of our volunteers will lead the conversation over the course of 2 to 2.5 hours and give people an opportunity to sign up and take further action straight out of that conversation. And one of the beautiful parts of the Climate Conversations program at Climate for Change is that we've borrowed from network marketing. So network marketing model is like the Tupperware party model, where at each conversation we invite 2 more guests to then host the next conversation. So not only are we having this conversation at depth, with a group of people to the point where they actually go from being concerned or worried, sort of to some extent around climate change, to being motivated to act and knowing what action to take. But also we've got this growth built in, so that at each conversation potentially we start a chain of conversations, which means we're getting deeper and deeper into communities, further and further away from the usual sort of suspects, the people who are already well on board. So we're motivating a whole range of people to take action on climate change.
So tell me about one of those transformative moments when someone came to a conversation and how it changed them.
She watched that video in the conversation, and she was part of that conversation, and it left her mind buzzing and overcome with the need to act. And she didn't actually know many of the people at the conversation, but she wanted a way to stay connected. So she reached out to the host, who she knew, and the facilitator of that conversation, who's Maggie, And together they decided to create Neighbours United for Climate Action, which is a local climate action group that came out of a climate conversation. That has also inspired other Neighbours United climate action groups around the place. They have over 200 members, or they did when we did our evaluation. It's probably grown since then. They run, local events and that kind of thing. I think members of the group have gone on to have conversations with the local MPs, both at state and federal level, and also with banks like the National Australia Bank. I think they had a conversation with them recently. So all of this action flowing out from one person, feeling the fire lit within them, and then being able to, through the conversation, link with others. And that's just one example of so many like it that have come out of the Climate Conversations program.
Such an incredible story. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much to Mike McAvoy. And I like the way that Mike makes the C4C conversation sound a bit like a cross between a sex toy party and a pyramid scheme, but in a really good way. I did want to come back to the challenge winner from before, the person who, the challenge was to put on as many clothes as possible in a minute. The winner was actually 80. So congratulations, 80. And I think it's because 80 was the person smart enough to go, oh, I put all my clothes on. Well done, 80. Thank you again to Ethical Investments. And I think it could be time for an update. How's our target looking? What are we up to now? 51,349. See, we went gangbusters at the beginning, and now I feel like people are just starting to lose interest. I hope that's not the case. Don't forget, you've only got about an hour. If you donate $100 before, and hopefully more, before 8 o'clock, you will automatically go into, Simon's raising a few more people there. I am still pissing all over him though. But yes, if you donate $100 before 8 o'clock, you automatically go into the raffle where you could win some wonderful clothing vouchers from Cloak and Alpha 60. Everything for an eco-friendly house from Flora and Fauna, and of course a yummy hamper from Everybody Loves Hampers, an organic hamper. And don't forget those coffee catch-ups, especially because I am hoping to be the person who gets the most money donated to their page. And I've come up with a little something that I might do if that happens. But don't forget, you can have a Zoom catch-up, because I know we all want more Zoom catch-ups at the moment, with me, Simon Toohey, Dr. Simon Bradshaw, Rebecca Huntley, or Sarah Wilson. Get involved. We were going so well. We've only got an hour and a bit to go. Let's hit that $70,000. We all want to see Jane with a cake in the face, and we all want to see Lena eat a lemon. And the board are going to do a wacky challenge too, if we get the right number. But now it is back to the wonderful Simon in the kitchen. How are we going, Simon?
We're getting there. We're doing really, really well. So in the pot, let's do a recap, because what I've done is I've chopped up my garlic pretty roughly, my ginger pretty roughly, my onions pretty roughly, and I just sweated them off in the pan. Just a bit of oil, medium heat. And then once that's happened, I've added a few of my waste ingredients that are in the fridge that are probably going to get thrown out and I'm going to forget to use. So the carrots, I've got some celery that I decided to put in there. I've got some cabbage that I decided to put in there. And I sort of sweated that up for a bit. And then I add some cumin seeds and my beans. So in this case, I added some dal or some lentils. As I said before, you could add chickpeas, you could add butter beans, you could add anything you want that's in a tin if you'd like. It's totally up to you. The idea here is to fight the world of food waste and sort of start making beautiful, nutritious dishes without throwing the ingredients in the bin.
Simon, I just wanted to come back to your challenge. Well, the challenge that we have pretty much given each other. So, Simon wants more people donating to his page. I want more people donating to my page. Now, Simon may put on a dress if he wins. Well, you know what I'm going to do, Simon? I'm going to put on a nude suit. Now, some people might already have seen me in the nude suit. It's very fetching. It's a flesh-colored leotard, Simon, where my nipples and pubic hair are simply drawn on with a texter. Who's losing there? I'll tell you, no one's losing, and I'd be very surprised if I didn't get a marriage proposal as well.
See, this is fantastic, Judith, because you know what? You said that thing to me before. You're like, look, I think I've seen enough men in drag. And I was like, no, that's not what I wanted to do. It wasn't really my purpose. It was to be a little bit more wholesome and loving than that. But then I sat back when I went off. I was like, you know what? She's right. There's enough straight white men in dresses. I think we've done it to death. And I think it's pretty shit in the first place. So she's right. I'm just going to stick with this amazingly fetching shirt and a bit of makeup, and we'll leave it at that.
That's all you need. And I think we know the nation is crying out to see me in a nude suit. So I think
so too.
Everyone is just going to get what they're after at the end.
So everyone, here's the challenge. If I end up making more money than Judith Lucy will wear a nude suit.
There it is. There it is.
That's it.
You know what? I think I'm just going to wear the nude suit either way.
That's right.
And do you know what? I think what this really gets back to is Simon and I just want to make more money than Simon Bradshaw, Sarah Wilson, and Rebecca Huntley. So maybe we should actually just throw our lot in together, actually, Simon. Maybe that's what we should do.
Oh, let's team up. Let's double nude.
Yeah. It is good because they can't come back at us. People will keep seeing us. We will keep being annoying. Whereas, of course, the other people are just doing tremendously informative and wonderful interviews, but we'll only see them once. Whereas you and I, Simon, we just get to nag people into submission.
I love that. I love that. I think maybe I should have a look online and see if I can get myself a nude suit just to sort of, if we're going to duet this, we might as well seriously duet this.
I'm leaving it with you, Simon, and I think we're all holding our breath.
I love it. See you soon.
Before we leave you though, I was just going to ask, any just really general tips for people in terms of being sustainable in the kitchen? Like just simple stuff that we might just not think of?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of really good ones. The classic one of not wasting any produce, right? Really important. If you're a meat eater, the same thing goes. Try to either meal plan or just buy enough for the week. Don't go out and buy and buy and buy. That's a classic one because you keep topping up your fridge and then all the stuff that was fresh starts getting pushed to the back of the fridge. And I'm guilty of that every single time. Constantly guilty of that. But the other one as well, which I really love, is buy from your local producers. So I've got a gorgeous fresh fruit and veg producer just down the road from me, and that's where I get my stuff from. I don't go to the big business because I want to support local business as well as local growers, and that's really important. So then you can find the ugly veg that usually doesn't get bought by a big business can be bought by the small ones, and I can buy it from there. So I'm also saving on that side of things as well. Which is fantastic. So a couple of things there, which I really, if you can put that in the back pocket and always think about that when you're going to buy food, you're ticking the boxes.
Yep, that is great, Simon. We will come back to you very shortly to see how you're progressing, and so you and I can talk some more nude suits. And right now, it's time to introduce another interview with someone who, of course, if you donate $50 to their page, you can have a coffee catch-up with them, and that is the wonderful Rebecca Huntley. Rebecca is an acclaimed researcher and author. Rebecca's sixth and most recent book, How to Talk About Climate Change in a Way That Makes a Difference, came out last year. It's a guide to understanding ourselves and each other as we face the climate crisis. I finished reading it a couple of weeks ago. It's fantastic. It's just full of so much information. It's incredibly helpful, and it's also really uplifting. So I would recommend the book to anyone, and I cannot wait to hear this interview. So over to Lena and Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca, so much for your time and for supporting Climate for Change Online-A-Thon.
I'm really happy to do it. Love the organisation.
Thank you. So I was going to hope to talk to you a bit about climate change. What a surprise. And in your book about how to best talk about climate change in a way that makes a difference, you talk about this emotion, like this shift of rationally understanding what climate change means to you. And then having that emotional connection, that transformation that it brought to you, which I can really deeply connect with. I can remember those emotional moments in myself. Tell me about yours and how that transformed you.
Well, I think I probably had a couple of mini moments leading up to a large one. And all of those mini moments really involved my children. And I suppose you don't have to have children to have that connection. It can be anything that you care about, but a little bit of it. I suppose one of the things when you are with children that can be yours or children that you love, is you just think a little bit about whether the experiences that shaped you and were really positive for you are ones that they'll enjoy in the future. So there's a bit of a question mark over that. So I had a little mini moment when I was snorkeling the Great Barrier Reef with my eldest daughter, who at the time was 5. And, you know, often when you're doing things with children, with your own children, you think, I wonder if they'll remember them, and I wonder if they'll grow up and do that with their kids. And when we were doing that, I thought, oh, well, maybe there's not going to be a barrier reef when she grows up, and maybe she won't even want to have children. So there was just a little bit of a, I suppose, a question mark there for me and thinking about it. But I pushed that aside, perhaps being not yet ready to fully immerse myself in that thought, which is very confronting. A couple of years later, it was once I'd had more children, so I had 3 kids at that stage, really thinking about the student climate strike. And again, it was very much centred around thinking about my eldest child in particular, because a lot of the young people involved in the strike for climate were around her age. So there was something about watching those young people who very much looked like my eldest daughter's peers, and kind of recognising that this would be a shared anxiety and concern for her. But also what was really interesting at that time as well, in terms of personalising the science, is that, you know, you can read that we've got 10 years we've got a decade of action. We've got a critical pathway, excuse me, in terms of the next 10 years. And my twins are, well, they're turning 7 this weekend, but at the time in which I was really engaged with the student strike for climate, they were 5. And I remember thinking, 10 years, they won't even have left high school. You know, you spend so much time as a parent, you know, brush your teeth and do your maths homework and everything, and, you know, how will you do in the HSC? And for that moment, it made me realise, you know, I should be as concerned about climate change, as active about climate change as I am about my children's education and the other things they do, because it's one of the many factors that's going to, probably one of the most dominant global factors that's really going to shape their immediate future. So they won't even be out of uniforms by the time we kind of, you know, have this period of both great opportunity but also great urgent need to change. So for me, it was very much personal, the science, which I was across enough, personalising and I suppose connecting that with some things that were really important, and including my day-to-day life.
How are you seeing that conversations have the power to help people to do that shift in their thinking?
So just to build on what I just said, is that, you know, in order to make people engage with climate, which is, let's face it, scary, overwhelming, it seems technical, it seems divisive, it seems political, it's got, you know, like an onion wrapped with all these kinds of, you know, unpalatable and kind of, you know, things that we don't really want to engage in. I think then the challenge is always how to make it relevant and personal for people. One really good way to do that is to see people that you either have a natural affinity to, or you are close to or trust, or people like you, however you might define that, talking about how climate matters to them. So the messenger is really important.
Find a climate for change is that a messenger really matters, like people inviting their friends into their home allows for a safe environment to do exactly what you said, like air our concern, have that opportunity to ask all those questions in a climate that feels toxic, where we feel like it's a separation, like you're not allowed to have this opinion, you feel alone. And then realizing that you're not alone, that you actually, everyone in the room, most of the people in the room at least, have the same feelings and same experience as you, and that you are the majority. And that shifts things. Like we can really see that magical moment of shift.
And that's why I love what you do, because, you know, even things like, which can be really effective, where you might go to a public event, you know, pre-COVID or whatever, or, you know, where you hear kind of, you know, experts talk about climate and there are questions and, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that they can't be effective, and there is kind of effective ways in which you can show people movies and get them to reflect. But we do need to, I suppose, mix up both the climate script and who talks about climate and how it's talked about in places and spaces. And I think one of the wonderful things about, having, when I first learned about the organisation, I loved the concept of this Tupperware model in relation to climate change. Having been to many of Tupperware parties where I bought more Tupperware than I ever thought that I needed, there's this kind of sense where, it's a different kind of model as a way to break through and constructively disrupt the way that we've talked about climate. In the work that I do on Australian attitudes to climate, one of the questions that we ask in one of the large-scale surveys that we do is, who do you think should be doing more on climate change? Like, who should be acting? And of course, the federal government, corporations are up there, but people also recognise the profoundly important role of their workplace, their work colleagues, their family and friends, their community, their local government, their sporting clubs and organisations of all kinds. So I think people get it, that we don't just want to hear about this from politicians and scientists. We want to hear about it tell our own stories, as many as possible, in our own way, to be able to address the doable challenge that's in front of us.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And I love hearing those personal stories. I loved hearing Rebecca talk about how it was when she was snorkeling, on the Great Barrier Reef. She had one of those, oh my God moments. And I had a very similar moment when I was actually snorkeling at beautiful Ningaloo Reef in Western Australia. I got to hang out with a humpback whale and a whale shark. And up until that point, I thought I was doing my bit. I was recycling. I was cutting down on meat. But I think I just thought, oh, climate change. Hasn't Leonardo DiCaprio got that covered? But there was something about hanging out with those amazing creatures that just made me suddenly go, oh, my God, what's more important than this? What's more important than these living creatures? What's more important than doing everything I can for the planet? I'm an idiot. Mind you, I think that on a fairly regular basis. But the conversations that C4C has very much tap into those personal conversations and personal stories. And I think that's really a way we get to turn the conversation around. And, I think sharing that stuff really empowers people to want to do more when it comes to climate change, which is why we all need to donate more to Climate for Change so they can have more of those conversations, especially before we have a federal election, because we really need to let our political leaders know that they need to do a hell of a lot more when it comes to stopping and reversing global warming. Thanks for all your comments, by the way. I wanted to apologise to someone called Rowie was sending a message earlier saying that their mother had actually donated to my page and not theirs. Sucked in, Rowie, is all I can really say to that. Actually, could we have a quick look at my Coffee Catch-Ups donation page? I just want to see how that's going. Okay, so I am up to $2,335. If people want to see me in the nude suit, I say again, it's a flesh-colored leotard where my breasts and pubic hair are drawn on with a texter, then I want to get up to at least $5,000. So really, who doesn't want to see me sort of nude? Don't answer that question. Let's do a more general update. How is our, okay. So actually now we're nearly on to $56,000. I'm just a little worried that we're not going to see Lena eat a lemon or Jane get a cake in the face. We have to reach $70,000. I know we're all exhausted. I know a lot of us have been having a pretty tough time, but don't forget, there isn't a more important issue. So if you've got the money, we would so appreciate it. And now it is time for my favorite part of the evening. Yes, it's time for another Fellows Challenge. Taking part this time, we have Margaret, Jemima, Patty, and April. The wonderful Ethical Investments is, of course, sponsoring the challenge. Please vote for the person who you think does the best job, and Ethical Investments will give them $250. Second place will get $150, and third and fourth get $50 each. This challenge, this one really is the best. The challenges are going to paint a picture of the inspirational Greta Thunberg, but of course, they're going to do it blindfolded. Why wouldn't they? Strap yourselves in. Over to the challenges.
My name is Jemima, and I'm a fellow for Climate for Change this year because I think conversations around climate change are super integral into creating climate action. And today, our challenge is to draw Greta Thunberg while blindfolded in only a minute.
Hello, I'm Patty. I'm also a fellow with Climate for Change. And yeah, as Jemima said, conversations are so important in talking about the climate crisis and moving society forward. And yes, very excited to be joining in on this challenge.
Hi, I'm April. I'm one of the fellows as well, and I'm fundraising because I care about the environment, and I think Climate for Change has a really good way of making sure it stays protected.
Okay, hi, I'm Margaret. As you can see, I'm channeling Greta Thunberg now, so I can hopefully get her image in my mind. And me and my amazing team, the People versus General Malaise, we're trying to combat the general malaise by doing something positive to combat climate change. So thank you.
Pressing ready, set, go. All right, that's the minute.
Oh my.
How do you look? This is my Margaret, I'm so
Are you serious, Margaret?
What's that?
Oh my God. Mine's
I'm
more
so
Picasso.
impressed.
Well, wasn't that just something? Thank you so much to all the challengers and, of course, to Ethical Investments for their wonderful support. Do we know who won that one? Because for my money, it really had to be Margaret. Do we know if Margaret won that? No one's getting back to me. So instead, I will read you out a comment from Marcus Barber, except that's now gone. But Marcus was hoping that because Marcus wants to be waste-free, WASTE, as opposed to, oh, look, it was a comment about waste-free, WAIST. We've all put on weight in lockdown, Marcus. We get it. Now, who won? Oh, my God, Jemima won. But Margaret not only looked like Greta, she really nailed that portrait. No one cares, Judith. No one cares. It's not about who wins. Well done, Jemima. Thank you, Ethical Investments. Can we just do another really quick little total check? And, you know, just reminding you too that you've only got half an hour. $56,000. Okay, we need another $13,000, people. We need to get up to $70,000, and you've only got half an hour to donate $100 and automatically go into the raffle and potentially win wonderful clothing vouchers from Cloak, from Alpha 60, everything for your eco-friendly home from Flora and Fauna, and a yummy hamper. And don't forget those coffee catch-ups. I want a lot more money coming my way if you want to see me in a nude suit. And you can also go in the running to have a coffee catch-up with, of course, the wonderful Simon Toohey, Dr. Simon Bradshaw, Rebecca Huntley, and Sarah Wilson. And now it is time for another informative and wonderful interview. This time I would like to introduce Carol Ride. Carol is the founder and president of Psychology for a Safe Climate. She'll talk to us about climate anxiety and what we can do to overcome it. Lena, Carol, over to you.
Thank you, Carol, for joining Climate for Change Online-A-Thon. Really appreciate your work and the work of Psychologists for a Safe Climate, supporting all of us who are active in the climate space, from activists, volunteers, and our mental health. And you have so many great tips on your website. And I would love to hear from you, what are your key tips to sustain ourselves as volunteers, activists who are active in climate change and might feel climate anxiety?
Some of the tips are really to do with how we deal with the emotional impact. That's one part of looking after yourself. It's having the others around you that you can be open with about how you feel, other people who will let you say how you feel, whether you feel angry, sad, despairing, very, very struck down with grief. Really important that people can be honest and that they can be heard. And it's the hearing that is actually really important, and to validate the person's feelings. That is what is healthy for them. So the other parts are the things that, and it's important to be in a group, not just one-to-one, but to have a group of people and to have a group of people around you that you can trust to be open about. And then that means people look out for each other and, you know, say you're having a tough time and really listen to them, and if necessary, go and get some extra support. But mostly we can do the supporting ourselves if we really pay attention to what people are really saying. Now, the other part is that the bit about balancing in your life, as well as having people who understand here, it's also being responsible for ourselves to know that we need to have exercise, we need to have time out from working solidly, we need to be able to put our phones and gadgets away and have break time. We need to know to draw a line around that.
Do you have tips on how parents can communicate with their children on climate change, knowing that especially the younger generations are quite concerned about how their future is looking like? I know that I'm not alone feeling that that's a concern I carry with me.
Well, actually, the research indicates that the parents who've engaged and process their own feelings about climate change are much more able to respond appropriately to children. And that sort of makes logical sense. But we do encourage any parents we talk to actually do their own emotional work of engaging with climate change, working out how they feel about it. And that's a process. That doesn't happen in one lecture or something. It really is a process, and give themselves time to actually really engage with the reality, not kid themselves about false solutions. And once they've done that sort of work, and again, they would need to do it with other people to actually, who can help them talk through their own feelings about it, and keep sustaining that sort of connection with other people, then they're more likely to be able to engage with their children. Then the other bit of it is, how do you engage with children? Now, young children really just need to be introduced to nature and help to love nature and develop their curiosity about nature, as you know, appropriately to their age. But once children are, you know, probably later primary school and certainly secondary school, they know all about climate change. And I've heard lots of stories about parents who think their kids don't know anything about it and being quite shocked to find that their kids know a lot more than the parents give them credit for. So parents need to respect the fact that their kids possibly know about it and ask them what they do know as a starting point. Not try and ram things down their throat or false hopes, but actually really listen to kids about what they feel about it, ask them what they know. And one of the roles of parents in creating a secure person in life is to actually to help them feel safe, to acknowledge their feelings so that they feel validated. That helps them build inner security in themselves. And then to help them build that sort of knowledge about what they can do as an individual and with others, and support them in doing that. That helps kids feel stronger in themselves because they're validated by their parents through understanding and through support. And one other way that parents can do the support around that is to work with their kids about what they'd like to do and do something with them, which might be something to do with the school strike thing, or it might be to do with going and visiting MPs or forming a group, and all sorts of things that kids and parents can do together.
What gives you hope and helps you to stay strong and connected and purposeful in your work?
It's like the other way around, that the strong and purposefulness helps build hope. I think we need to build our connections with each other, and it's through working together that we do sustain each other and build some sense of purpose together about what we can do without actually knowing the outcome of what it is that we've embarked upon and begun, but having some sense of purpose with others that we're contributing in a way that we know needs to happen without knowing the certainty of the eventuality.
Thank you so much for your time, Carol.
Pleasure, Lena.
Thank you so much, Carol. Great to hear her talk about the importance of community and some really helpful tips there for parents, which is, of course, when I stop listening because I'm a barren spinster. We are now past $60,000, so let me do a bit of sucking up to everyone who is watching and donating. That really is amazing, and especially at the moment when I know a lot of people are doing it incredibly tough. So I want to make love to each and every one of you, whether you like it or not. But let's keep that money coming in. We've got about an hour to go, and we do really want to get to 70 grand. That's when we will see Lena eat a lemon, and we will see Jane get a cake in the face. I'm also looking forward to seeing the C4C board do a crazy challenge. Let's get over that line. And please, you've only got half an hour to make a donation of $100 or more and to go into that wonderful raffle where you could get clothing vouchers from Cloak and Alpha 60, a hamper, an organic hamper from Everybody Loves Hampers, and everything for your eco-friendly home from Flora and Fauna. And don't forget that it's not too late to sign up to become a fundraiser as well. You just have to click on the sign up button on the fundraising page. But now, what is my favorite weasel up to? Let's check in with the fantastic Simon Toohey. Oh, now I can't hear Simon. I don't know if anyone else can. Oh, I wonder what there we go. Simon, we can hear you now. Hurrah!
Sorry, I was playing with my chili. You know what?
We've all heard that before, Simon.
That's right. Be careful, everyone. It's a very dangerous little number. But I think we're so close, Judith, that you and I should think about what we could do to get us over that line tonight.
Well, Simon, I don't want to make anyone too jealous, but
Stop.
This is the nude suit. Yes.
Oh, you beautiful human being.
I think you can see that it's a pretty sexy number. But you know what? I'm not putting this on until I at least get to 5,000. Or in fact, I'll put this on if we get to 70,000. What do you reckon?
That's still. I agree with you. You know what? I think it's really artistic. The little stars and the little pubic hair that's been drawn on there. I think that's just.
It's classy, it's sophisticated, and I think a lot of younger people are probably going, pubic hair, what is it? But I'm proud of my bush, Simon. I own it. I wear it.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
I'm a lady of the bush.
I think so. Very French of you. Now, look, if that happens, then I've got this wonderful, wonderful, extremely hot chili here. Maybe whilst you're getting the bush on, maybe I should consume this chili.
Great. I think what it's all about, if Lena eating the lemon and Jane with the cake in the face are anything to go by, it's either about eating something awful or saying goodbye to your dignity completely. And so I think we've got that covered. You're eating something terrible. I mean, God knows I said goodbye to my pride 20, 30 years ago, but I'm really going to embrace that tonight.
The things we do to ourselves to raise money for the great things of this world, you know?
Absolutely. Hey,
just to give you a little heads up,
yeah.
Look, everything is doing well. So I put some water, I put the lentils in, or whatever legumes you're using. I've added about 1.5 liters of water, and I've just reduced it down until everything gets nice and soft and the flavor is there. And then I'm going to finish it off with, I've got these last little bit of asparagus, so they don't take long to cook. So I'm back on again for one more round next. But I'll put these asparagus in during the break, and then I'll just cook those through until they're still nice and crunchy. I've just put some rice on, so that's plugging away, having a good time there. And then everything's ready to go and dinner's ready. Now, if you haven't been following along, because, I mean, really, why wouldn't you follow along? But if you haven't been cooking along and you didn't have all these wonderful things at home for you, the recipe is, you can get the recipe at sustainableearthnetwork.com, or Freshly Picked, where the recipe will be on as well, is vegkit.com as well. So the two recipes will be there for you to use if you're not cooking along with me tonight.
And Simon, would I be right in thinking that there are a lot of great recipes people can find if they go to Sustainable Earth Network?
Yeah. Sustainable. If they go to Sustainable Earth Network or vegkit.com, there are plenty of recipes. You can go and try them out and act sustainably.
I couldn't put it any better. Hey, before we go, let's bring up your donations page.
Oh,
and
come
see
on,
how you-
people.
how you're
Come on,
going.
people. Go over 500 at least.
Can we bring up that page? Yes, we can.
Come on,
What is
over
Simon
500 at
up
least.
to? Well, okay, we're up to $600. Excellent work. But Simon, what do you want to get up to?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I want to beat you. That's just true goal. But I really feel as though that I am clutching at straws with that one. So if I make it $400 more, if I make it to 1,000, I won't dress in drag, which is pretty much a given anyway. But I will eat the chili.
Okay, I'm all for it. Can I have a look at my page?
Bugger off. Of course, you're following me.
Okay, $2,455. But you know what? I don't know if the nude sit's going to happen if I don't make $5,000.
Oh, wow.
Or we make $70,000 as a whole. Either way, you're getting me in an embarrassing flesh-colored leotard, and I think that's what Australia's crying out for. Thank you so much, Simon. We will check back in with you in the not-too-distant future. And now it's time to meet another wonderful Climate for Change volunteer. Susan Mungle is going to tell us how she went from being a soccer mum to a climate activist. Over to you, Susan.
Hi everyone, my name is Suzanne Mungle. I'm very privileged to be here talking to you today. As I am no celebrity, I'm just a very ordinary person. I have a wonderful husband and 4 beautiful children, and we live in a very safe Conservative seat in rural Queensland. I'm definitely not a person you would profile as a greenie, and if the truth be known, I didn't even vote or consider the environment when voting in the last federal election. So now that's off my chest, how is it that I am here talking to you today? And how is it that I have moved from a normal soccer mum attitude to action on climate? And looking back over the last 2 years, I wonder that myself. I wonder, why was I so unaware of climate and how essential and urgent action is in this space? The truth was, no one ever talked to me about climate or environmental issues. None of my friends, no one at work, and certainly not my family. It's just an ignored topic. And don't get me wrong, I'm a university educated person. I watched the ABC News and I knew about climate change, but only as an abstract idea, and I didn't have any real connection to it. This is despite the fact that I've been involved in many community groups who really care about the state of the world, but climate change was not talked about in any of these settings. So what sparked my turn of perception? And the answer is really quite simple. It's a conversation. It was through my son's Year 6 classroom teacher. That year he did the unit on war and waste at school, and which enabled a lot of conversations at home. Later in the year, I was at a community event with that teacher, and we were lining up for some food, and somewhere in the conversation he just said something like, "I don't eat much meat as it's better for the earth." This simple statement from someone I trusted made me question my role in climate action. This helped lead me down a bit of a rabbit's hole, finding out more answers and more questions. It helped me to connect the dots. And about 6 months later, I was ready to act. So I wanted to act, and I chose to first look at food waste. You may laugh, I decided to eat the whole broccoli. You know, the flower and the stem. Yep, so radical, so brave, go me. But even though I did progress to some other home remedies for climate change, I didn't have a gang or a posse, and I was really quite lonely. I even searched for climate and environment networks on the internet, and the closest one was 2 hours away. So I bravely thought, perhaps I can have someone come here, and that is when I really got excited to see Climate for Change and the program they offer. An amazing facilitator named Janet phoned me, and she supported me to get ready for my first event. On that day, she drove 4 hours to get to me. I had invited 16 of my friends and 14 came. In that first conversation, I couldn't believe that these, my friends, were just as concerned about climate change as I was, yet we'd never spoken about it. And why not? This session gave me the start of my climate posse. From here, I was encouraged to become a facilitator. The sessions I now run give me an opportunity to allow people to connect the dots like I needed to do to move to action for climate change. But as I only ran my first session in March 2021, I'm still very much at the beginning. But some of the amazing things that are springing from these Climate for Change sessions include I run a local MPEG group. We put a petition into the local council and we're having a meeting with them very soon. I have a little collective, about 130 friends on a Facebook eco group where we talk about climate action and research. One of my friends asked for a video to show at his school about environment issues and climate change. And many more people spontaneously start talking to me about environment things, even when I don't know the answer. I'm particularly proud of the fact that my climate chats enable climate unsure people to ask kind of dumb questions, but in a safe space. But my favourite thing happened just last week when a work colleague who'd never been to a Climate for Change talk and is not involved in any climate groups asked me, almost out of the blue, "How come you didn't used to eat your broccoli stem?" And I was a bit thrown. I was a bit confused. Then I realised that someone who had attended one of my Climate for Change sessions was using this, or my little story that I had shared, as a way to start their own conversations. But of course, Climate for Change and the work I do with them has changed the way I view myself. I feel much braver and more enabled to go beyond the broccoli stem. Thank you. Have a good night.
God bless you, Susan, your climate posse and your whole broccoli eating ways. Just one of the many incredible volunteers who are part of the C4C community. And you know what, Australia? We're only $8,000 away from seeing me in a flesh-coloured leotard with drawn-on nipples and pubic hair. And if that's not something to celebrate, then by God, I don't know what is. So let's make it over the line. We just need to reach $70,000 so that Simon Tui will eat a chili, Lena will eat a lemon, Jane's going to wind up with a cake in the face, and I, of course, will wind up in the nude suit. You have only got 14 minutes to donate $100 or more, which will ensure you automatically go into the raffle to win wonderful vouchers from Cloak, Alpha 60, Flora and Fauna for all your eco home needs, and an organic hamper from Everybody Loves Hampers. Don't forget, it's not too late to put your hand up to be a fundraiser as well by just clicking on the button on the fundraising page. And I actually just wanted to share a couple of statistics with you after hearing from Susan. C4C's 2020 impact report shows that of the people who attend Climate for Change's conversations, 99% learn more, having been to one. Can I just say, check. 86% leave more empowered to take action on climate change, check. 77% say climate conversation influenced at least one change behaviour. 54% volunteered or donated more frequently to climate organisations, and 46% contacted elected representatives more frequently, which is something that I've really got to do. So it just all makes such an incredible difference. What you're doing tonight, watching and donating, is making an incredible difference too. So thank you so much for your support. It's now time for the very last interview of the night. So you know what? You get to listen and donate at the same time. I'd like to introduce the wonderful Sarah Wilson, best-selling author, journalist, and TV presenter. She's passionate about zero waste, mental health, and climate action. She'll talk to us about the impact we can all make and how important citizenship action is. Over to Lena and Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining our Online-A-Thon for Climate for Change.
My absolute pleasure. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you. I was going to start with quite a simple question. What does climate change mean to you?
Gosh, it's our existential reality. It's the thing that's going to hopefully get us to wake up and shake ourselves out of our acedia, our sleepness. Who's based in Washington, DC, and he says, our souls are calling us to an appointment with life. And I think the climate crisis is exactly that. But I generally use, climate change is essentially about global warming. Let's be real. It's about CO2 emissions. We can talk plastics in the ocean, we can talk recycling, and they're all important. But really what's affecting us most immediately is the CO2 emissions. So, you know, a lot of people do get confused because there's so many aspects to the climate movement. But if you really want to get serious about it, it's about CO2 emissions, or, you know, so greenhouse gas emissions, and then it's about what we can do to switch completely to renewable energy and electrifying everything, so getting rid of gas.
I agree. For me, it's like an existential crisis. Is the question of like, can we survive and can our children survive in the world we are in? And it's so personal to every single Australian, even if we might not have it in the forefront of our minds. So if we think about that climate change means reducing CO2 emissions, like what would you say are like the actions that you can take as an individual that are the most powerful ones?
Okay, well, I gave away part of my answer a moment ago, but I would say electrify everything, which is a really bizarre one because I think only a little while back I was like, oh, but gas, natural gas, surely there's a place for it, and, you know, but no, the future has to be electricity, and as the world switches to completely renewable electricity, then it'll be a far more sustainable world. So I would say if you are upgrading a kitchen stove, for instance, or if you're looking at buying a new car anytime soon, you need to go electric. It's really the only way to go. And then I would say the next thing is completely reduce food waste. So if food waste were a nation, it would be producing more greenhouse emissions than China and India combined. Like, it's something ridiculous. And in Project Drawdown that Paul Howden put together, which is sort of the top 100 things that contribute, or if you were to fix them, they would actually make a decent enough dent in the in sort of reducing carbon emissions. Food waste comes as number 3. So even halving, if we all halved the amount of food that we waste each week, and I'm talking consumers, then that is actually more effective than a lot of the other things that we talk about, you know, in terms of reducing flights or whatever. So keep that in mind, and also keep in mind that 50% of food waste is produced by consumers. So not by the farmers, not by the supermarkets, it's us. We throw out food that doesn't need to be thrown out, including peeling things that don't need to be peeled, including, you know, not eating the skin off our chicken or whatever it might be, you know. So that would be number 2. And then number 3 would simply be don't go to the shops. Like, shopping begets shopping, consuming begets consuming. You go to the mall and you're going for, I don't know, a doona cover or something, and you come back with, you know, a vegetable paring knife or whatever it might be. Like, oh, while I'm here, I better get this or that. It's amazing how you can actually live without and for longer by what I call fending, making do with what you've got. And it's actually a highly creative process, and we've lost the art of that. So, yeah, it's don't go to the shops, which is code for just go without. And that's essentially reuse, repurpose, before even we think about recycling or, God forbid, having a clean out and minimising.
I would love to hear from you. What do you think politics as usual can solve climate change, or do we need a new approach to things that we need to change?
I'm so glad you asked because it happens to be what I'm working on at the moment. So, you know, we have got a 2-party kind of system, and it's got to the point where it's become so binary and polarized that they're not even arguing on policy so much, because in many ways they've got the same policy. They're arguing on ideology, party ideology, and that is really seeing policy suffer in this country, and Australians suffer in terms of our sense of identity and sense of hope, you know, for at a very precarious time in history. So there is a solution that is emerging, much like the Greens emerged at a particular time in history, the Democrats emerged at a particular time in history. And so now the independents are a fledgling movement, but one that's growing, and I think it'll be a very dominant force at this coming election, which is potentially November, but I would say more likely to be March, April. So, you know, we are seeing climate-orientated female independents emerging in marginal seats, doing a Zali Steggall. You know, Zali, of course, took down Tony Abbott, and it was a movement that came about from people, you know, Liberal voters predominantly, who were fed up with party politics and decided to shake things up. Now, that has inspired a bunch of movements around the country in roughly 12, but as many as 20 seats. And essentially, and this is the movement that I'm working on, is educating people around the fact that a vote for an independent this election is not going to be a wasted vote, because there is, in fact, a movement of like-minded people. They're not going to be caught up with party restrictions, who are mobilising their electorate in and around climate, corruption, i.e. fossil fuel funding, First Nations voice to Parliament, and equity issues. They all happen to be women, because that's what everybody is wanting. And it's mobilising. Now, if we get approximately three more climate-orientated independents up this election, they'll essentially hold the balance of power. And so issues such as climate, like the Climate Act bill and so on, they've got a chance of getting some traction.
Thank you, Sarah. First of all, I would like to make clear that Climate for Change does not endorse any political party or candidate. We do encourage everyone, to use their citizenship power at the federal election and call, message, write to your candidates in your area and ask them what they are going to do on climate change and how they're going to hold their promise once they're elected. This is a key part of our conversation program. We ask everyone who comes to take an action at the end, and we encourage people beyond the conversation to keep engaged through our MP engagement groups to connect with their local elected MPs and candidates, and put pressure on them. This really important federal election, because we do need more climate action and commitment in our parliament. So thank you, Sarah, and thanks to everyone. And if you want to join one of the MP engagement groups, we're going to pop them into the chat with a link on how you can do that.
Our souls are calling us to an appointment with life, God damn it. Thank you so much, Sarah. Great to hear her talking about the Voices For movement. And guess what that is? It's another grassroots movement, just like Climate for Change. And that is how we're going to make a difference in our country at the moment, until our political leaders actually pay attention. We are really getting down to the pointy end of the evening. I think we might have to check in with our total. Have we cracked 70,000? Are we going to see me in a nude suit? We're at 63. My God, we're so close. Can we have a look at my page and Simon's page before we... 2,670. It's not bad. It's not 5,000. Are we going to see me in the nude suit? Simon's up to 715. He was hoping to crack 1,000. I'm really hoping we can all rally just for the last few minutes. If we get to 70,000, of course, Lena's going to eat a lemon. Simon's going to eat a chili. I'm going to wear a nude suit. Jane's going to wind up with a cake in the face. You have all been so amazing. I know how difficult it is just watching stuff on Zoom at the moment in terms of how much of that we're all doing. You really have been incredible to get behind such a wonderful cause. Can we just squeeze a few more dollars out of you before we say goodnight? Of course, this is just the beginning of C4C's fundraising campaign. They're going to be aiming to make over $300,000 over the next 5 weeks. And as we know, that will enable them to reach thousands of Australians, have the conversations, and make a huge difference before we go into the next federal election. But for the very last time, can we say hello to my favourite chef, Simon Toohey?
I'm going to write that down. I like what you just said. Then that's fantastic. Thank you very much.
It's also true, Simon. It's just a complete pleasure. That looks delicious.
Yeah, totally. So this is it. So I mean, of course, cameras of the computer varietal don't really give it the full love it deserves. But this is a lot of love. This is a beautiful. This would have cost me, I reckon, about maybe $1.20 per person per serve. And that's this dish tonight, which I will send the recipe up, so it goes on the Climate for Change website, so people can check it out and make it themselves. But it's cheap, full of protein. Debunk that myth. Plant-based food can be full of protein. This is delicious. A little bowl of cumin rice on the side, and to me, that is absolute heaven. I am, put a film on, chill out. I'm going to sit back and relax.
And you know what? It's going to keep you regular. There's no getting around that. Simon, can you just plug everything you're doing again before we go? Tell us about the TV show. Tell us about Sustainable Earth Network.
Yeah, so my baby Sustainable Earth Network, we're looking at changing the way people look at how we grow food, we consume food, we produce produce from the food, from what's grown. All these sorts of things. We want to just absolutely scream that down the camera to you at the other end of the TV.
Actually, Simon, can I just ask, what inspired you to, get that whole thing off the ground in the first place?
Because I think my partner is the most beautiful human being in the world, and it actually came from her originally. Her family are massively plant-based eaters, and I just sort of thought, my gosh, where am I in this sort of world? What am I doing to change how I consume to make sure that the children, if I have children, if we decide to have children, or even others, they look upon us and they say, well, we want to be more like that. Well, then who am I to say that I'm doing the right thing, the good example? And so that's how it started. And I ran into a couple of people. One was a brilliant on film. Another one was a brilliant editor. That cut costs, so we didn't have to spend money on getting it all paid for, as you understand, Judith, with how much that world costs. So we could do it together as a team, and we had a big voice or a small voice with Simon's big, loud, booming voice, and we wanted to express that out there. So it was fantastic. It was one of the greatest or serendipitous events to be able to produce something like Sustainable Earth Network and be able to do exactly what I love straight away, which is fantastic.
And because that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we all have a part to play, and whether it's doing what you're doing, whether it's being a funny lady and hosting a benefit like this, or whether it's donating to Climate for Change. I mean, we can't all do everything, but we can all do something, and so it's just finding out what that thing is.
Look, I'm sure every single person has said this in the past, but it's not one person doing one thing perfectly. It's everyone doing something imperfectly. And I think that's what this community right now is doing. We're doing our very best to scream out, what we want to see in the future, what we want the future people to see as well, and how they come into this world and they say, hey, look, we see this wonderful change. And everyone who spoke before today are trying to do that as well. And it's just, I feel warm when I see a community like this together, and I can only imagine what that would be like if the whole nation felt the same thing when they looked on something like this.
And also, I mean, it is kind of astonishing that you have got the first plant-based cooking show up. I mean, if you had told me 5 years ago that Channel 10 was going to do that, I would have thought that you were insane. So that already indicates, how much is shifting. And please give that another big fat plug.
Yeah, so that's it's called Freshly Picked. It's on Channel 10, 3:30 weekdays, starting this Monday coming. So this is our second season, and a big shout out to Animals Australia, who are the major sponsors for this whole thing. They are just a beautiful bunch of people trying to do great. And we're not trying to ram veganism down people's throats. We're trying to talk about the beauty of plant-based eating and how good flavors can be, because we spend so much time eating meat and 3 veg, where in honesty, the 3 veg was mush and the meat was the only thing got on the plate. Now we know more, we know better, and we can learn how to make our plant-based eating a lot better.
And Simon, I also wanted to tell you that one of the Facebook comments is from Carly, who made the dal. Carly is eating the dal right now and is saying thank you for the expert advice, Simon. Simon Toohey, if you weren't already married, I would propose.
My heart is beating.
Thank you so much. Maybe at the end, if we all come up at the end, we will see you eat a chili. But if not, we will see you real soon. And thank you so much for everything that you've contributed tonight. Simon Toohey, I love you, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
See you, Simon. And now, of course, the board, the Climate for Change board, were foolish enough to say that they would do a bit of a wacky old challenge if we reached 30,000. Well, we're nearly at 70,000 board, so take that. So we are going to see the C4C board do the put on as many clothes as you can in a minute. You know what? You could watch that, and you could also take the opportunity to donate just before we say goodbye, especially if you want to see me in a nude suit. But for now, over to the C4C board.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are the Climate for Change board, and we're so thrilled that you're here. Today, we will be doing the How Many Clothes Can You Put On in 1 Minute challenge.
3, 2, 1, go. Done. Really? It's so cute.
Yay!
Thank you very much to the C4C board for acting a bit like dicks. That's it, everyone. That is pretty much close to the very end of the night, but I think the first thing I have to do is bring back Lena and Jane. Hello, ladies. How are you feeling?
Thrilled and scared because I'm going to have to eat a lemon. We just hit $70,000.
Did we really? Oh my God! Oh my God! A round of applause for everyone who has donated, for everyone who's watched. You are the absolute best. I've got a whole bunch of thank yous. Should I do that first? Or, yep, okay. Well, I would like to thank, firstly, everyone who's watched and donated. Honestly, you have blown my tiny mind. These are not easy times. And to think that people can be that generous, I'm going to cry, goddammit. That is really, I'm blown away. I would like to thank all of our guests. Thank you to Dr. Simon Bradshaw, Mike McAvoy, Rebecca Huntley, Simon Toohey, Carol Ride, Susan Mungle, Sarah Wilson, and of course the wonderful Dr. Hernandez, who we'll be hearing from in a minute. Thank you to our broadcaster, the wonderful Simpatico, and all the team there. Personally, I want to thank Megan, who has kept me sane and just told me when to go all night, which has been fantastic. Thank you to Lee and Zach. Thank you to all of the volunteers who made tonight possible. What an incredible community C4C has. I'd also love to thank all the sponsors, Ethical Investment, Cloak, Alpha 60, Flora and Fauna, BioMe, and Everybody Loves Hampers. Please don't forget that you can keep donating. There's 5 weeks of fundraising to go. And the coffee catch-ups, I think, ladies, are going until midday tomorrow. So do not forget, $50, donate to my page or Simon Toohey's, Dr. Simon Bradshaw's, Rebecca Huntley, Sarah Wilson. Go in the running for that. And it's still not too late to put up your hand and be a fundraiser as well. Anything else you would like to add, ladies, before we all do our challenges?
First of all, thank you everyone so much. You are the reason that I have hope, and it's this community that gives me hope. So if you're a fundraiser, donated tonight, part of our community, thank you. And I also want to announce a few winners. So Susan just won the board challenge, but also our raffle prize winners are, for the first prize, which was the Cloak $300 voucher, is Siofra Leons. We're going to send you an email after this, tomorrow probably. To the second prize, $250 voucher for Alpha 60 goes to Birgit Feister. Third prize, The Flora and Fauna one goes to John Bear, and the All Organic Hamper goes to Graham Harrington. If you're still on, congratulations. We'll email you. And thanks everyone who's donated.
And ladies, before you get to what you're going to do, I would just like to, there we go. And also, it's very special at the back. So, you know, don't tell me it wasn't worth it. $70,000.
It was so worth it.
Worth every cent. Every cent. Oh, and there is Simon eating a chili. Fantastic.
Oh my God.
Give him
Get that man a drink. Well,
oh my God.
Okay.
Judith, do it.
I think we killed Simon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Lena. Oh my God! Look at that! I can hear the tear of the whole thing.
I can. I'm seeing.
I'm done. I'm going to use a full stream.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
I am.
Lena, it's making your face look like a cat's ass, and I'm enjoying that. Oh, I think we need to bring Jane. I think we need to bring it home. Jane,
all right.
I'm going to take in the face.
I'm going to do my thank yous first because I don't want to do them with cake all over my face.
I think you should. Cake on the face. Thank you.
So first, I want to say just a massive thank you for everyone who donated. We're just so excited and humbled by everyone's generosity. Tonight, we raised more than $70,000. So we were at 65,000 about 3 minutes ago. So I don't know who came in with that last 5,000.
I don't want to say too much, but you know,
it's been incredible tonight. Because we reached at least $30,000 like hours ago, our sponsor, Ethical Investment, and one generous donor will top up our page with an additional $7,000. So now we're at $77,000.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's just incredible. We knew that by the end of this week, we had to raise 25% of our entire $300,000 campaign target in the first week, which is $75,000. So we have just smashed through that target. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who donated for all our wonderful fundraisers. Thank you in particular to the C4C Fellows. Thank you to Lee and the team at Simpatico behind the scenes. Thank you, as always, to the incredible staff team at C4C, and a massive thank you in particular for Serena, Marta, Kate, and Lena, who made this night happen. It would not have happened without you all. Obviously, a huge thank you to Judith and Simon for emceeing tonight. You did an absolutely incredible job. The chili, the nude suit has just been my favourite moment for God knows how long. You are just ridiculous, hilarious, and I love you both. Thank you. Cake!
Do the cake!
Thank you to our wonderful volunteers who support the organisation, and they're out there day in, day out having climate conversations with their family and friends. You are our power. Please keep supporting your friends and us through the Challenge for Climate campaign. We'll keep fundraising throughout October, so keep an eye out for updates, or join us and become a fundraiser yourself and make a difference. And now I'm going to get a cake smashed in my face. I'm going to carry my laptop out to outside. I'm not doing this inside in my dad's office. Can you imagine? I've got an old work shirt I'm going to put on. Just wait. I'm going to need a bit of tech support from the background here.
And is someone actually putting the cake in your face, Jane?
Someone is going to put the cake in my face. Get ready for this. Are we doing it in here? Outside, I reckon, with the light.
Do we know who the cake thrower is? Is it someone with a grudge?
The cake thrower is my mother-in-law. Do I say that about you?
No, stepmother.
Stepmother?
Oh, there seems to be some confusion.
Maggie, the cake thrower.
Can you see me out in the light? Here we go.
Yep, we can.
I'm gonna have to hold it back again. Yeah. Here we go. All right, you ready?
Yes!
I have cake all over my face.
Comedy and Climate for Change are the winner.
I couldn't breathe there for a minute. It's up my nose.
Is it actually tasty?
Yeah, it
what's
tastes
the
really
taste?
nice. It smells
There you
really
go.
nice up my nose as well.
Every cloud has a silver lining.
That's
That
right.
is it from all of us. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight. Keep on donating to Climate for Change, and to bring this baby home, let's go out with the wonderful Dr. Hernandez.
Thank you.
Lágrimas amargas en aquel lugar. Lloro, 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 lloro sin cesar. Lágrimas amargas en aquel